On this episode of the Star Wars Time Show, the bros are bringing back the Resistance recap. But as a special bonus, they're also going to be talking about 2 new Mandalorian revelations at the end of the cast, and they'll also give you some details on how the show is going to morph a bit while The Mandalorian and Star Wars Resistance are airing concurrently. Cue the music. Everybody, welcome back to a special edition of the Star Wars Time Show. I know we took last week off. That's because Nick, he was working till the midnight hours on real life shit.
Yes.
Boo, hiss, yuck. But we're back now, and it's a special cast. So we're going to talk about Star Wars Resistance. But before we get into that, I've got some updates on how the show's going to be flowing for these really through the end of December. So, hey. We've got a lot of Star Wars content right now thanks to the release of Disney+, and we're just 2 dudes. So we can't sit here and cover everything, give every show their own special topic cast. So what we're going to do while The Mandalorian is in season, as well as Resistance being in season, we're going to flop things a little bit. Instead of giving Resistance its own special cast to recap and talk about each week's new episode, we're going to go ahead and give that time to The Mandalorian. And we're going to move the Resistance recap discussions on to the primetime show. I'm still not sure if we're going to keep the primetime show recording Tuesday to release Wednesday, or if we'll flop those 2, but it doesn't matter because you should just be paying attention to StarWarsTime.net or Star Wars Time Show on Instagram, because that's where you're going to get all the updates, the goods, and the excellence that you expect from the Star Wars Time Show bros. All right, Nick, so let's get into the meat of this. I'm kind of excited to talk more Mandalorian after our lengthy discussion last night. But before we get there, we can't just cast aside our little friend Star Wars Resistance, who, quite frankly, these past 3 episodes has kind of perplexed us with the direction the narratives have taken. They've kind of just forgotten about the whole First Order Resistance conflict, and we're getting more deeper looks at some of these secondary characters. It is what it is. Yeah. They haven't been great, but we're here to discuss the most recent episode, which was called From Beneath. And if you're keeping score, my friends, it's S2E6. And like we said a few weeks ago, we're not doing the full recap anymore. We're really just going to kind of touch on the Easter egg. And in this one, it literally was a lone Easter egg. And I had to mine, I'm talking deep core mine my asshole to pull this one out, because there's literally nothing in this episode that was Easter egg related to Star Wars or Star Wars references.
Yeah, I mean, this episode, like you said, we're kind of going to dig into the meat. I would argue here that From Beneath is kind of like a chicken bone that's already been eaten, so there's very little meat on this motherfucker. But yeah, the eggs and the Star Wars references are hard to come by when 95% of your episode takes place in a brown cave, and that's it. Like,
yeah.
And that's where this episode is primarily placed. So Matt, kind of, hit him with the egg that you found, and I will say that this is an impressive pull, even if it's not directly Star Wars related.
I mean, Nick, this one was so stretchy, if you will, that I probably sat there for 20 minutes going, should I really sit down and make this video? I mean, over this egg, which, in a court of law, it probably wouldn't even hold up as an Easter egg. But I was like, you know what? They like watching these videos. I'm going to go ahead and drop it, and we'll see what we get. And lo and behold, a few people watched the video, and they haven't just sat there and said, why did you do this? You're an asshole for wasting your life. So, you guys ready for the egg? Get ready. It's going to fucking blow your minds. Well, the dragons that are featured in this episode, if you listen to their roar, they sound very similar to McClunky. No. So I can't help it. Like I said on last cast, it's almost become like a Tourette's thing for me. McClunky. But anyways, when the dragons roar, Nick, they sound like our homeboy from underneath the planet, the savior of us all, the king of the monsters, Godzilla, or you could argue there's a little Jurassic Park T-Rex in there as well.
Yeah. I mean, the Godzilla one is almost spot on, so I love that pull. The T-Rex one, there is a little bit of a guttural kind of roar to these things as well. But yeah, I mean, this is about as much as you could do. The only other thing that I could think of is that, like, the dragons look, if you know what a mythosaur looks like, they kind of look similar to a mythosaur in the shape of the body.
Yeah, they kind of had that snooty nose,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, and like the long kind of, I don't know how to describe the body, but like almost like a reptilian body style.
Yeah, no, dude, you're spot on. Think of like a Chinese dragon you'd see in a parade or something. Their dragons are almost like a snake. They're very long. They still have legs, but they're very long with the big heads. And Nick's spot on. I mean, that's what these things look like.
Yeah, so if you've seen images of mythosaurs, whether it be in old canon or anything like that, like, they did kind of have like a reptilian style look to them, and their head was very like, you know, it's not like a crate dragon. A crate dragon looks almost completely different. Like the head of the dragon is like very long snout. You know, the teeth are different. They have a lot of horns coming off their head. If you look at the Mandalorian clan, like, you know, insignia, then you know kind of what the head looks like. But there was a passing resemblance to a mythosaur in the design of this dragon, which was never even officially named. It was just the fucking dragon. Like, they didn't say what kind of dragon it was. It was just.
I thought at one point in time they did, but again, this episode, and I'm not like, again, this is kind of a kid's show, and I'm almost 40. I'm not sitting here like, oh, this shit's fucking garbage. It's not, but this episode was very, as Nick was saying offline, it was geared towards kids to teach them lessons.
Yeah.
About the environment and shit like that. And that's all well and great, but we're talking about a series here that probably only has, maybe 12 more episodes?
Yeah, I mean,
total?
I don't know if they got a season 2 renewal for 22 episodes, which is your typical season length for TV series, or if we're getting a reduced number of episodes. But we're on, like you said, Matt, we're on episode 6. And even if they are at a 22 episode structure, I mean, we're still clipping through this thing pretty quickly.
Oh, yeah. I'd say, Nick, I know we're getting one next week, and we'll kind of preview it. I'd say it's that one and maybe one more before they take their winter break. So
yeah, I mean,
more than half of this, well, it's a stupid sentence, but it is what it is. More than half of this first half of season 2 has been filler and exposition-based episodes, but not for the main characters and the first order plot thread. It's literally been exposition for randos. In this case, it was, Flix and Orca. And it's fine. I actually like the dynamic of Flix and Orca. I guess we should just move into our top moments, because there wasn't many to me, in my opinion.
No.
But I think we got confirmation that these two are a gay alien couple at this point in time.
Yeah.
So I kind of dug that. I also like the thing with Flix's family and how they're all named.
Yeah,
I thought that was funny. Yeah, it's Flix, Flanks, and Uncle Flu. And they didn't name like some of the other ones, but I guarantee they're probably FL something.
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of cool. And then just my other top moment, there was only 2. I did like when Orca finally got tough, like a little guy like myself, and he's like, you know what? Get the fuck out of my way. My buddy's down there, or my lover, whatever you want to call it, my friend, and I'm going to go save him. And he just kind of got in, and then the Flix people are like, hey, now we know why Flix likes that guy. He's kind of take charge. It's almost like Flix's species, they're almost like lemmings, like looking to be guided by something.
Yeah. I mean, those are 2. Yeah, I definitely like those 2 moments. I mean, the dynamic between Flix and his family was really fun. Granted, yes, they were treating him like shit when they first got there, and like he was this, the outcast from the family who wanted to leave the family. Like, it's essentially like, if you know any gay people in your life, and gay people that have a strained relationship with their family, it's a very similar.
Yeah, you're right,
dynamic.
man. I mean, they don't come out and directly reference that. Like I said, I mean, there's innuendos.
Yeah.
Where you're like, okay, these dudes are definitely probably hooked up, but I mean, Nick said it right. I mean, essentially, Flix became estranged from these family members on whatever planet this was because he didn't want to become a miner. He didn't want to get into the family business. He wanted to go be a cantina singer.
Yeah, he wanted to be a
So I think you are spot on. I mean, again, they didn't make that direct correlation.
No.
Like, Flix was kind of outcast because he was gay. But I could see that.
Yeah. And I mean, there was a conversation even at the very front of the episode when they're on the shuttle kind of like going to the planet. There's a conversation between Flix and Orca where Orca's basically giving him like the supportive boyfriend talk. He's like, when we get there, they're your family. They're going to love you no matter what. Like, they're going to support you. I support you. Like, don't worry about anything. And then obviously we get there, there's strained relationship happening. So like that dynamic was really fun and I enjoyed it. Especially towards the end where like you get the reconciliation between the family members.
Right.
That was fun. So again, like kind of similar to Matt, I agree that there were not many top moments in this episode, but the one thing I did enjoy was the dragon. I like the design of it, mentioning, previously it has kind of like a Chinese dragon type design. I really like the way that they portrayed the eyes, considering the dragon in this episode is averse to light. So the way that they essentially...
Right, and they can't see. I mean, much like the T-Rex in Jurassic Park, they need motion to see stuff.
Exactly. So...
I was funny. I mean, it's weird that we do a podcast together, but I was literally just about to say, I also wanted to mention that I really like the design of the dragons and all that shit. So,
but
again, this is the Force connection.
Yeah.
As at any point in the day, I can see Nick naked, all oiled up, with no pants.
That's
on.
just how it works.
Just like Rey and Kylo.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's for some reason. Whenever I bond with Nick, he's always nude and oiled.
Yeah,
up.
I mean. Whenever I see Matt, he's like throwing things against the wall. He's just angry.
He's fucking angry. Yeah.
Clenched fist.
I mean, literally just tonight before we started podcasting, my poor wife's like, can we kind of talk about the Thanksgiving schedule and what we're going to do with Charlie and are you going to stay home and this, that, and the other thing? And I turned to her and I said, can you please leave me alone? I'm trying to relax right now. Like a freak, like just a freak. I wasn't doing anything. I was sitting there watching Sophia the First with my kid.
Nice.
It's like, I just looked there like, don't fucking bother me with that shit. Like, I do not want to think about that stuff right now.
It's like, please.
I'm a fucking weirdo. But Nick's right. I kind of live in the
dark.
Live in the anger. I'm about as Sithy as it gets.
Yeah.
There's no freaking doubt about it.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
All right, so yeah, I mean the episode. I'm like, again, it wasn't like vomit shit, but if you're watching Resistance to get eggs or little nuggets or insights into the First Order and what they were doing when we couldn't see what they were doing in the films, then you're going to be disappointed. But we've got a preview of next week's episode, which is called The Relic Raiders. And Nick, it looks like, I don't know if we're going to get some, we are going to get some First Order action, trust me, because I also get images from Disney. And it looks like we're going to see a new style of trooper, so I'm excited for that. But what the preview showed us, Nick, and I'm probably even more excited for the potential here, but it looks like Kaz and the two orphan kids, what is it, Kel and Isla?
Yes.
They're going to stumble upon a Sith temple while they're out looking to buy supplies, which has been kind of a theme this season, supplies, fuel, food for the Colossus. So I think the Relic Raiders has some solid potential.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this is the first time that we're really, exploring the Force in any meaningful way in this series. And Kel and Isla were first, introduced to us in season 1 as these orphans from this planet that was completely destroyed by the First Order. And Matt and I mean, offline we were saying this too, but even when they were first introduced to us, we're like, we really feel like these kids have some sort of Force affinity. Like, they seem like they're Force kids. And in the preview for the episode, they're, Kel and Isla run up to this derelict looking temple. I mean, it's literally almost collapsed. Kaz follows them in, and then Kel and Isla are looking around, and right in the middle of the fucking room, you can see a big ass, what is essentially a representation of a holocron. That's that big ass triangle.
A Sith holocron at that.
Yeah, and Kel and Isla are like, oh man, this looks like a temple that we had, but they're confused. And I believe it's Isla. The girl says, "Are those Jedi markings?" but they're
right, and then we get a great reaction from Kaz because he's kind of like the Han Solo. I mean, you got to remember, Kaz was born post all the Sith and Jedi shit, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, he's kind of like Rey and Finn when they first saw Han. They're like, oh, all that shit's real? I thought it was just legend. And Kaz gives a very Han Solo reply to the girl when she says a Jedi. He's like, Jedi, Force, I've never seen it.
Yeah.
And she's like, you don't have to always see everything to believe in it.
Yeah. So, and then, as the preview kind of mentions in the YouTube comment, like this ends up being a Sith temple. And at the end of the preview, all three of them hear a voice from some, deep inside the temple. And then Kel and Isla run in to go see him. But yeah, I agree with you. This, even though, I'm assuming, like you said, because of the press kit that you got from Disney, we'll get a little bit more first order plot thrown in here. But I'm glad that they're kind of getting outside of the standardized storylines that they were telling in episodes 4, 5, and 6, where it is kind of focused on like, okay, well, the Colossus is in space now. Now we need food. Now we need we need to train our pilots because they sucked last time, and now we need to get some supplies. And like getting away from this, this storyline of just like, let's keep the fucking Colossus afloat, and kind of moving into a little bit more interesting, digging into some Star Wars lore outside of just what they're immediately dealing with on the Colossus.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, and we are going to get first order, man. This image looks boss. I mean, these troopers it's a whole new style, so I'll be interested to see what this is all about. But I mean, even if they're just at the end, the fact that they're going to touch into the whole mysticism of Star Wars with the Sith Temple, I mean, that's enough for me to get a little excited.
Agreed.
So I have hope for this next episode. I think it's going to be episode 7, and like I said, I think we might get 1 or 2 more before it takes a little break, and then we'll be on the final run. So hopefully the second half of the season, I believe will probably close out end of April, something like that. Maybe shit will get nuts, kind of like season 1. I mean, the second half of season 1 was clearly better than the first, and maybe that's what we're headed for with season 2 here. That's at least what I hope.
Yeah, I hope for that as well, because I really did like the back half of season 1 for Resistance. The first half of season 1 was good. A lot of character setup, a lot of getting to know the people that you're going to be following for a long time. And then second half ramped up really well. I was hoping that we would kind of continue that high pace into season 2, but it looks like they slowed down. And hopefully, fingers crossed, these guys know that they're working with the last season of this show, and they really bring it home in a big way. So,
well, you would hope they know that, considering this is their fucking job. So hopefully someone told them, because the rest of us know that this series is over at the end of this season. Yeah. So, all right, well, we typically say goodbye at this point in time, but we knew it'd be a little light, so I stumbled upon some pretty important insights into the Mandalorian today as I was doing my daily circle jerk online, just looking at Star Wars stuff. And the one was just a straight slip, I think, from Pedro, or it isn't as big of a deal as everyone's making it out to be. And the other one is something I'm kind of disappointed in myself that I didn't notice it. And I'm kind of kicking myself, Nick, because when I saw the Doctor the first time, I was like, that fucking uniform reminds me of something.
Yeah.
But I didn't do my due diligence, and I had to rely on some guy on Twitter to spot it out. But we got little insights into Dr. Pershing, too. But before we get to him, Nick, let's get to the first insights into the Mandalorian, which I've already seen it 3 times, and I might watch it again tonight. I just fucking love it. I love this series. I love it. I love the music. I love the pace, everything. But anyways, today we learned from Pedro himself, the actual Mandalorian, what the Mandalorian's name is. Yeah. And like I said, I don't know if it's as big of a deal as everyone's making it out to be, because, I mean, this guy is a pro. He understands about NDAs. And this was an official interview. It's not like he got jumped somewhere, and he's literally sitting down and talking about it. But we have a video from Screen Slam, and I actually did a video myself just to kind of talk about it. Please check it out, Star Wars Time Show on YouTube. But, I mean, he says straight up, the Mandalorian's name is Din Djarin.
Yeah.
or Dinjarin, something like that. I mean, I've got spellings like Dynjarrren. If you watch my video, my last spelling was Dynjarrabcdefghijklmnop. I'm not kidding. Check it out on YouTube. So, what do you think, Nick? I mean, do you think this was a fumble, or do you think it was like we as fans, because they were kind of keeping the name hidden during pre-promo before it launched, we kind of built it up like it was going to be some mega reveal that would melt our faces?
Yeah, I tend to agree with you that this isn't some sort of mega fumble. Usually when shit like that happens, it's on like, you know, they're on the late night shows. They're just kind of riffing with the host, and then they're like, oh, shit, I wasn't supposed to say that.
Exactly.
But yeah, this was a like official TV interview, and he could have literally he could have just said like, hey, can you cut that out in post because I'm not supposed to say it.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's like, if anything, this was pre-scripted. At the end or right then, he can be like, oh, fuck, let's go back and just cut that and roll. Yeah. Right, ready, action.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that the name is probably not that big of a deal. Like, the fact that he said it's probably not that big of a deal. For us,
it's very Star Wars.
Yeah, yeah. Dinjarin. I mean, that sounds perfectly Star Wars related. I mean, that falls right in line with a lot of other shit that we've, you know, seen and heard throughout the years. But I think, you know, I think we were all, like you said, as fans, we're all like, oh my God, is it going to be like fucking, is he going to be like Din Fett? Is he going to be like, you know, is he going to be like fucking Bosk Fett or like
Jester Mariel?
Yeah, like, it's just coming up with like trying to figure out what this name's going to be was a huge thing for us. But like,
well, that's what we do, right? We sit here and go nuts over fake sci-fi stuff. I mean, literally, that's what we do.
Yeah. And
I like it. I mean, I'm not like pissed, like, fuck, Dinjarin, that's fucking stupid. It's just like, well, again, we had our high beams on the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Once again, which we're good at. I mean, if MSW's known for hitting on leaks, we're known for missing by miles on speculation.
Yeah, I mean, that's our key thing. But that's why we do it. We like to speculate and see, like, are we close? Are we even like in the fucking ballpark? Most of the time we aren't. But we like,
yeah, we're not even fucking close. Not like we're in the unknown regions at this point.
Yeah, we're way out there. But yeah, I mean, Dinjarin, it's a good name.
We also have this with his name, right? I mean, he's a self-admitted foundling, which I think you and I have kind of spitballed that that's just a fancy way of saying he was an orphan, probably a Mandalorian orphan. Either way, he was taken in by Mandalorians in a very similar fashion to our buddy Jango Fett, which Nick and I did a little study session before this to truly get the lineage of Jango. And he is not a proper Mandalorian. But if you read a story, I don't know how much of it is canon, it does sound technically like a foundling case where his real parents were killed. These actual Mandalorians took him in. They adopted him. He adopted their way of life, and then that's where, you know, got his armor and the Mandalorian, his skills and all that shit. But so I mean, Dinjarin may not even be his true name.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we don't know. Dinjarin could just be what he's going by now. Like, he has no living family. We've already learned that in the first episode. Like, his family is dead. He's a loner. So this name Dinjarin, yeah, he may tell that to somebody and say like, yeah, this is my name, Dinjarin. Like,
I still want to know what that signet line means. I watched it again last night, and she literally says, "Has your signet been named yet?"
Okay, yeah, that's definitely a kid that's going to be assigned.
What the fuck is she talking about? But yeah, so. Hey, we know the Mando's name. We're still probably not going to see his face for a good while. I mean, I at this point, even that tease we saw, the lady lifting it, I've seen further evidence that he rejects that. He's like, yo, get the fuck off my helmet, and puts it back down. So, hey, it's our man Dinjarin. Who knows? I mean, his name will be legendary, right?
Yeah, yeah. And hey, look, you can make
now we know
a non-famous name legendary, people. Don't worry about that.
Well, it could, now we could spin it as maybe she's giving him some opportunity to do something insane.
Yeah.
You know, like fucking galaxy changing, and now we know he's got a baby Yoda. I mean, fuck yeah, it could be big galaxy changing.
You could literally, be legend with this fucking Yoda baby. So
right. So speaking of Yoda baby, we're going to move into our next revelation here for The Mandalorian, and that is the fact that Dr. Pershing is a Kamino scientist.
Yeah.
How do we know that? Well, if you look on his arm patch, It's a dead nuts identical symbol to what the clones wore on Kamino. I've got the video out there with all the visual evidence for you because, we're probably not. I might throw them into the cast video. Why not? Depends if I'm feeling lazy or not. But so, I mean, Nick, that sheds a ton of light on this dude and why they were after the Baby Yoda. So here's kind of my theories here. Whoever is in control of Kamino at this point, I mean, the Empire did take it over, and did they kind of fuck with it during Operation Cinder too? I mean, I remember that was a campaign mission in Battlefront 2.
Yes.
Either way, Kamino's probably being manned by some shady motherfuckers.
Yeah.
And the fact that this guy wants an alive specimen of a Yoda species baby implies that, as we said last night, I mean, we didn't know he was a Kamino scientist, but we were kind of making educated Star Wars guesses that this dude probably just doesn't want it to raise as his own. He probably wants to mangala it and either do experiments or now potentially clone it.
Yeah.
It could be a fucking clone of Yoda at this point for all we know, and they lost it, and that's why they want it back. I mean, it's an asset. That's why he wants it alive. Like, shit. That's all we had of the Yoda DNA from when he was fighting Palpatine in the Senate chamber.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
we can't let that thing get away. We're gonna make it a dark side Yoda. Blah blah blah. I mean, they could need him to feed Palpatine's life force.
Yeah,
they're just cloning Yoda babies so Palpatine can eat them and sustain his life. But I think that we now know this dude is tied to Kamino is huge.
Yeah, it changes the game completely, because if he was just like an Imperial Remnant scientist, then like that kind of changes probably a little bit what you can expect from him. He's probably, doing experimentation for sure, but not with any particular purpose. Like, now that we know he worked on Kamino and he is familiar with the cloning process and everything that goes along with that scientific realm within Star Wars, it opens up a world of possibilities. I mean, one that we talked about before is essentially trying to harness the Force in a way where you could virally transmit it to whoever you wanted to.
Exactly. Like if you're not born with a Force affinity, kind of like Captain America was born like a beanpole, but then they shot him up with some megaroids and he became Captain America. Same thing here. It's like, hey, okay, you're not predispositioned to have midichlorians in your system, but we figured out how to do it artificially.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that is...
So do you think, Nick, I think we even mentioned this last night, I mean, could they potentially be wanting Yoda baby genes and to science him to create the Sith Trooper Legion?
Yeah, I mean, that's something that we've heard about that is a direct tie into Episode 9, is that the Sith Troopers here, and, this is speculation. I don't know if this was even in the leaks, but, like, the Sith Troopers are said to be Force sensitive, and it's very hard to come across an army of people to make, to be Force sensitive. Like, yes, we had an entire Jedi Order back in the days of the Grand Republic and stuff like that.
True.
But like nowadays, post the Great Jedi Purge, like, you don't typically find Force users in those numbers. So it's definitely a possibility that Pershing is linked to Operation Cinder, and his role was to, like, hey, I want a fucking Force sensitive army, motherfucker. Figure out how to do it. And
yeah, I mean, I 100% think that all this is geared towards and tied to the formation of the New World Order, which is the First Order. I think this guy is tied to whatever shady powers are pulling the puppet strings in the background. And all this is going to lead to the First Order, its war machine, and potentially the Sith Troopers, which have been hanging out in the unknown regions for all we know. So it was huge getting this. I mean, huge. I loved it. I was like, again, I wanted to kick myself and punch my teeth out for missing it. But just getting that clarity has really helped my speculative mind kind of start to shape more theory for the Mandalorian. And now, obviously, the clear plot line is going to be him protecting this little Yoda baby.
Yeah, I mean, this is a fantastic find, and it really does color a lot of what we can expect from this Yoda baby storyline and who General Pershing is as a person, as a character in the show. I mean, is he, another thing you could talk about with Pershing is, like, is he completely, loyal to the Imperial Remnant? Is he potentially looking.
I don't
to
think so.
switch
You could even
sides.
tell.
Yeah, he was.
It's just because I watched it like 100 times.
He was definitely like, ooh,
I don't think he's directly working with the client. I mean, because he pretty much comes in like, hey, that wasn't part of the deal.
Yeah.
I believe, like, I mean, the client clearly is probably involved in some super shady shit. He could be involved in the formation of the new empire, a.k.a. the First Order. But I think they're all kind of tied together, and there's probably a main puppet master behind the scenes. Is it Snoke? Is it Palpatine? Who knows? But clearly this guy, the client, the Yoda baby, their plans for it, I believe, is all tied towards the creation of the First Order.
Yeah,
and trying to get, they're trying to get a jump on things. We lost the last time because they had a better Force guy. Let's amp up our Force powers. We can cheat. Let's clone. Oh yeah, the Kaminoans. Remember them? Let's get Pershing over there and see what he can do Mangala style.
Yeah.
Oh hey, by the way, we've got some Yoda genes from Palpatine in their fight. I mean, I'm just throwing shit out there, but it definitely gives at least me some clarity as to, okay. And we even said it last night. I mean, the guy's a doctor. He wants a Yoda baby. It was pretty clear that he wanted it for nefarious reasons. And now it's crystal clear that, okay, they're either trying to clone the thing or do some sort of genetic sciencing to enhance their war machines.
Let's think about 2 seconds on this, because I think you may be almost fucking dead on with this idea that it's a clone. So
an actual clone of Yoda.
Yeah, because end of Rots. What's the time? Okay, so end of Rots, from end of Rots until the beginning of A New Hope is 19 years, roughly.
Right, yeah, I was going to say.
Because this baby's 50 years old, so I'm trying to like math it out. Palpatine would have had the cloak from Yoda, and then obviously you see Yoda scratch that seat on the Senate. So he would have Yoda DNA at the end of Rots. 19 years to the beginning, then you cover what? I don't know, 10.
It's not many.
Yeah,
it's only like 3, maybe 5 years max from New Hope to Jedi. So the time doesn't add up.
Yeah, it doesn't quite fit.
But I mean,
accelerated growth.
Sheev was in the fucking Capitol for decades as a senator.
Oh yeah, true.
He was still a Sith then, right, people? Yeah. So I mean, it may not be he collected the DNA during their fight. It could have been at any time he was on Coruscant in the same room as you.
Yeah, and also, I mean, one of the things that is the hallmark of Kamino cloning is accelerated growth rates. So like even if he did get it at the end of Rots.
You're exactly right. Exactly right.
So I mean, that's an interesting one, and I don't think.
All right, give us the fucking trophies right now, people. We just solved the mystery. We don't even have to watch the remaining 7 episodes or season 2. It's done.
Yeah.
We've just explained the Mandalorian to you.
There we go. This is what we're here for. Now, we'll just wait until the season 1 ends, and then we're 55 miles away from whatever the fucking real thing is.
Oh yeah, no, we guaranteed missed the mark by a couple parsecs for sure.
Yeah,
there's no doubt about it.
But that's what's fun about this.
Yeah, it's fun to do it while you think you're right. So why not? All right, well, I mean, that kind of wraps this little special topic episode. Did a little Resistance, did a little Mandalorian. I kind of liked it. But as I said, next week we're going to switch things up, at least until the Mandalorian ends, which will be December 27th. It's just too much Star Wars to talk about, let alone we got a fucking game coming out on Friday. We got Nick going to Galaxy's Edge next week. We got Tross coming in almost a month at this point. I mean, it is getting Star Wars hectic these days at Star Wars Time HQ. So hopefully you're having fun going on this ride with us. A lot of great Star Wars stuff coming down the pike, and you know your bros will be talking about it. So in between now and then, please get your happy asses over to StarWarsTime.net. Get yourself acquainted with the site. Look at it. I mean, some of you even today were DMing me questions like, hey, if you're just paying attention to StarWarsTime.net, we've already got that stuff out there for you. So do it. Get yourself subbed up if you're not already. If you like what you're hearing, please sub up, like, rate, and review. Or if you prefer it on YouTube, you can find us youtube.com/StarWarsTimeShow. And of course, we'd appreciate your sub there and clicking that little thumbs up. It does more than you can imagine for us. It pumps up our ego, it keeps us motivated, and it also tells the Google overlords that people kind of like us. And that means more people will get exposed to us, at least with our pants on. Okay? Remember, Nick only takes his pants off when we force bond. All right, my friends, there's always time for Star Wars time. And remember, if you listen to the Star Wars Time show, the Force will be with you, always.